I've hunted in many places from the misty forests of Normandy to the vast cornfields of Iowa, but nowhere has stirred my emotions quite like the southwest of France, especially among the long-abandoned vineyards. This region has become a haven for wild boars, drawn by the abundant food supply. Of course, hunting wild boars here isn't about sport, it's about survival. Local farmers have lived in fear for years, as these animals have destroyed large portions of their farms. As the sun rose over the vast open fields, we spread out in different directions to track and hunt wild boars. Thanks to the flat terrain, we use motorbikes to move swiftly during the hunt. Suddenly, a massive wild boar appeared. Without time to think, we raised our rifles and fired. The boar dropped instantly after a single shot. My heart was pounding not out of fear, but from adrenaline and the thrill of victory. But we didn't stop there. We jumped into the buggy and raced across the green fields. The roar of the engine mixed with the grunts of fleeing boars. We quickly reloaded and fired again. Even though wild boars are incredibly fast, they were no match for the speed of the buggy or the precision of our bullets. Another wild boar appeared, and once again, we took careful aim and brought it down with precision. These boars were likely the very ones that had ravaged our farms. If they aren't dealt with, farmers won't be able to plant a single seed in these fields because the boars will destroy everything, even the seedlings, before they have a chance to grow. After our lunch break, we continued the hunt in the southern forest edge that afternoon, a place where green grasslands intertwine with dense shrubs. While lying in ambush, we heard rustling in the bushes. Then a wild boar emerged. We quickly raised our rifles and took it down with a precise shot. It dropped instantly from a clean, fatal hit. Every time a boar appeared, I fired without hesitation because the local farmers are counting on us. They've placed all their hopes in our hands, trusting that we'll help them eliminate these destructive creatures. Our journey continued throughout the afternoon. We knew that most of the wild boars were hiding in this area, only venturing out when searching for food, often near the surrounding farm. Within just a few hours, several wild boars appeared within my sights. We ventured deep into the mountains to hunt wild boars, a mix of excitement and tension filling the air as we entered their stronghold, eager to take down even more. We carefully examined the tracks they left on the ground, hoping to determine their direction of movement. Wasting no time, my team and I opened fire. We gathered our hard-earned trophies with satisfaction. By late afternoon, we had planned to wrap up the hunt. But then a report came through the radio. A massive herd of wild boars was tearing up a harvested cornfield. We rushed to the location and saw the boars charging out from the bushes. One by one, we took them down, determined not to let a single one escape. Hunting wild boars demands patience and persistence you can't give up. And this is our result. One massive wild boar. All the wild boars we hunted were gathered in one spot and loaded onto the truck. Once everything was secured, we drove back to the gathering camp where everyone shared food, drinks, and plenty of laughter. I could genuinely feel the warmth and friendliness of the group. This hunting trip in the southwest of France taught me far more than I expected, not just about shooting techniques, but about patience, observation, the rhythm of the wild, and the culture of the region. I never imagined that one day I would set foot in the Brandenburg region of eastern Germany to follow professional hunters in pursuit of wild boars that were destroying crops. This is not simply a recreational hunt, but a necessary task to protect the habitat and safety of the countryside in the region. If left unchecked, this destructive invasive species could grow into the millions and make life miserable for all German farmers. The trip started early in the morning. The autumn weather was still chilly. Dozens of hunters were present at the assembly point to assign tasks. The group divided into small groups, each group in charge of a different area. Just moving on the road to the hunting spot, we discovered a rather large wild boar. It must have been here since early morning to feed. Heinz, with his vast experience, brought it down with an accurate shot. Continuing up the hill, Heinz gave a slight signal to stop. A small rustling sound was heard, and then I saw a full-grown boar, not just one, but a whole herd. Martin raised his gun and gestured for readiness. In a split second, the shot rang out, the largest boar fell, and the others scattered. We continued to move and look for traces of wild boar. On the way, Mr. Heinz told me about the situation of wild boar in the area. They can destroy acres of corn and rye in a season. So these hunts are to protect the farmer's property. Heinz carefully observed every movement of the wild boar in the bushes. When one appeared in his sights, he would signal us to shoot. With the guidance of the experienced hunter, we learned a lot. Hines also said that in hunting, priority should be given to adult wild boars, as they are extremely destructive. We chose a high position with good visibility and could observe every movement of the wild boars. With this favorable position, we could easily shoot down the wild boars if they appeared. Focus, the wild boar is very close to us, Hines said after listening carefully. As soon as he finished speaking, a huge wild boar rushed out, pursued by hunting dogs. Without thinking, Martin and I opened fire, and the shot brought the wild boar down immediately. Be careful, because wild boars can attack us in any situation, especially when they are panicking. Hines's words were deeply imprinted in my mind as a warning to let me know how dangerous wild boars are. In the afternoon, we would coordinate our hunting tactics with the dogs working together to herd the wild boars, forcing them to run towards the gunmen who were waiting in ambush. My heart beat fast as I heard dogs barking, wild boars jumping out of the bushes, gunshots rang out, and the giant boar fell. The scene lasted less than a minute, but was enough to shock me. The hunting dogs herded quite a number of wild boars. We were surprised and did not expect there to be so many. The number of wild boars was so large that we shot them nonstop, resulting in dozens of them being killed. Despite their speed, wild boars are not immune to being killed. The pigs are collected and transported back to the village, where they are sold to local processors. Wild boars are considered a delicacy in Germany in some regions. Our wild boar hunting trip in Germany has come to an end. Thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.
Although I've encountered many invasive species before, wild boars remain among the most destructive and persistent creatures I've ever faced. They not only ravage crops, but also test the patience of even the most seasoned hunters. Today, we return to a familiar mission, but with a twist. This time, we're hunting wild boars from the sky, aboard a helicopter. A thrilling, breathtaking, and visually stunning journey awaits. Let's dive into this spectacular hunt together. Taking off early in the Robinson, our 44 helicopter, we quickly stabilized our position, gripping our rifles firmly and ready for action. The rotor blades sliced through the air, mixing with the echo of gunfire from Linda and me, creating an intense atmosphere midair. From above, we had a clear view of the terrain, targeting the boars frantically dashing across the fields below. However, their incredible speed and ability to change direction meant that some required multiple shots before they were finally taken down. The helicopter kept circling, moving toward the central area. On the ground, wild boars of all sizes were scrambling to escape. We didn't give them a chance to flee. Lowering our altitude, we aimed at the familiar dark figures. A barrage of bullets followed. Just like that, several more candidates were added to the takedown list. Thick bushes are always a favorite hiding spot for wild boars, giving them cover after every chase. As the herd panicked and scattered, they weaved through the dense underbrush, but from our aerial view, none of their movements could remain hidden. After a few missed shots early on, I regained my composure and shooting rhythm. Shot by shot, my aim improved, and no matter how agile they were, the boars eventually fell to decisive fire from above. After a short lunch break, the helicopter roared back to life and we resumed our pursuit. As soon as the first target appeared, I didn't hesitate. I pulled the trigger and dropped it in an instant. A large herd of wild boars became our next opponents. They tried to scatter and escape, but it was no use. The helicopter locked in, closed the gap, and one by one, each target was taken down. In just a few minutes, nearly the entire herd was wiped out, a clear testament to the superior effectiveness of aerial hunting over traditional ground methods. The helicopter swiftly turned toward a vast open field. Holding our altitude, we focused intensely and locked onto our targets. The boars split up, sprinting in all directions in sheer panic. It was the perfect moment. Gunfire erupted, each bullet fired with precision and force. Each hit caused the boars to stumble, tumble across the field, and lie still, ending their trail of destruction in an instant. Look at that, another herd, this time even larger, probably over 20 strong. Our entire team locked in and unleashed a barrage of fire. In a matter of seconds, gunshots echoed rapidly, and boar after boar dropped across the field. There was no escaping fate. Just when we thought the hunt was over, we stumbled upon a few stragglers on the way back to the rendezvous point. With a single shot, they dropped where they stood, motionless. This hunting trip wrapped up with a series of incredibly satisfying takedowns. Wild boars kept falling, so many that we eventually lost count. Still, that number barely made a dent compared to how fast this species can multiply.
Setting foot in the vast forests of the Pyrenees in France, I couldn't find a single moment of peace. Herds of wild boars rampaged relentlessly, tearing through the local farmers' agricultural land. This destruction had gone on for far too long, and I knew that only by confronting the problem head-on could the situation be brought under control. However, hunting wild boars here is no easy task. These animals are incredibly intelligent and know how to evade human pursuit. They can hide deep within dense thickets, turning the hunt into a challenge that demands precision, patience, and sometimes a bit of luck. As usual, the hunt began at dawn. The dense forest floor was covered in dry leaves, making it extremely difficult to track the wild boars. We had to split up and ambush from multiple directions, thoroughly sweeping each tree base and every patch of forest, leaving no corner unchecked. When a wild boar entered my line of sight, I immediately seized the opportunity, raised my gun, aimed carefully, and decisively pulled the trigger. One clean shot, and the boar collapsed on the spot. Our first trophy was in the bag. Though the start wasn't too bad, the lack of hunting dogs made it much harder to continue tracking more prey. After some discussion, we decided to move to a more open area which would be better for observation and ambush. Before long, a small boar dashed down from the hilltop and entered our sight. I quickly raised my gun and fired. The first shot only wounded it, and in a panic, it rammed into a wooden post and kept running. Without hesitation, I fired several more rounds. Finally, one bullet hit a vital spot, and the animal collapsed at the foot of the hill. Around noon, I wandered along the hillside for over an hour, hoping to find new tracks. And finally, patience paid off. A herd of wild boars was quietly weaving through the thick bushes. My rule, when facing a herd, is always to aim for the alpha. With one decisive shot, the lead boar fell. While the rest of the herd was still stunned, I quickly shifted my aim and fired at the ones nearby. Ironically, just as I was feeling regret for a few missed shots, the unexpected happened. The lead boar started to crawl and then staggered down the slope. This was no time to give up, otherwise all the effort since morning would be in vain, and deep forests don't let anyone stay distracted for long. The next encounter came sooner than I expected. That's hunting for me. Sometimes it takes hours of patience just to wait for a single moment of confrontation. Other times, the prey appears suddenly without warning. If you're not calm and focused enough to react instantly, all you can do is helplessly watch it vanish back into the wild. Still, the hunt had to go on. By late afternoon, I hadn't encountered another herd. While sweeping near a trail, a lone wild boar emerged. Sensing danger, it bolted uphill. I tightened my grip on the gun, calculated its path, fired, but missed. Luck wasn't on my side this time. The sun had set, and we were walking along the trail back to our rendezvous point. Just when we thought the hunt would end in disappointment, one last chance presented itself. A suspicious rustling came from a dense bush near the roadside. I strained my ears and readied myself to shoot. The sound drew closer. A boar suddenly burst out of the underbrush, sprinting across the path. There was no time to think. I pulled the trigger immediately, but the boar managed to escape. I rushed over to check, only to find it had already vanished into the thick shrubs. At the end of the trip, we brought the wild boars we'd hunted back to the rendezvous point. Though the day didn't go exactly as hoped, no one was discouraged. Every hunt is another opportunity to gain experience. There were disappointments and regrets, but also lessons learned and resilience forged. What did you think of the hunt? Share your thoughts and comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to follow more thrilling chases. Having been a hunter for many years, I've experienced quite a few thrilling chases. But stepping foot in Louisiana for the first time, everything still made me restless and excited like a rookie. The air here was thick with the smell of damp earth, dry leaves rustling beneath my feet, and wild sounds occasionally echoing from afar. I knew I was about to enter a hunt unlike any I'd experienced before. We had carefully planned the hunt for several days, and now it was time to officially begin. First, the whole team took advantage of early morning to check the bait traps. In Louisiana, hunting laws are very strict, especially regarding mechanical traps that can injure animals. Therefore, bait traps are still widely used and considered more legal. Look over there, a herd of wild boars, busily rooting around the trap. My heart rate spiked. I raised my gun, aimed at the boar standing closest to the edge for the best shot, then squeezed the trigger. The shot rang out, and the boar collapsed instantly. The rest scattered in panic. It was a bit disappointing to take down only one, but such a start wasn't bad at all. Leaving the trap area, I happened to come across a deep waterhole with a few wild boars lingering nearby. Though not very large in size, each one looked plump and healthy, enough to stir the hunter's blood in me. However, these creatures were incredibly sensitive and alert. Even the slightest noise would set them off, and they'd scatter before I had any chance to take aim. In the end, I decided to climb up a high hunting stand to lie in wait. One wild boar slowly approached the stand, unaware of the danger ahead. This was my chance. I quickly raised my gun and fired, but the shot missed, and the lucky boar managed to escape. A gentle start like that was enough. I climbed down from the stand and began to carry my rifle deeper into the forest, searching for traces of other boars. It didn't take long before the next target appeared. Today was truly a lucky day for me. I kept running into one group after another. This time, I couldn't rush it. I quietly raised my gun, held my breath, focused my eyes for a perfect aim, and pulled the trigger. A single clean shot, the boar crashed down hard, lying stiff on the forest floor. By the afternoon, the whole team decided to change tactics. We drove an airboat to hunt wild boars out in the fields. I sat on the deck of the boat, clutching my gun tightly and scanning every nook and cranny. There it was, a boar appeared on the right, without any signal. My friend, Ash, immediately steered in that direction, waiting until the boat ran parallel to the prey. With a perfect aim, I didn't hesitate to pull the trigger. The shot didn't instantly take down the boar, but it wounded it badly enough that it jumped up, then lay thrashing until it was exhausted. Just look at its size, clearly a formidable pest. Luckily, today we managed to take it down. Driving an airboat to hunt wild boars in the fields is definitely an experience you must try in Louisiana. Unlike the tension in every step through the forest, the vast open fields become a playground of speed and reflexes. The roaring engine and the sound of digging into the ground easily alert the boars and make them flee, so there's no room for hesitation. As soon as the prey shows up, we have to aim quickly and squeeze the trigger in a split second. One missed shot and the boars will slip into the tall grass and disappear immediately. Ash steered the airboat to another, less dense area. The hunters in the team split up, each watching a different direction. 15 minutes passed in silence when suddenly Harry stood up and pointed forward. A small wild boar was glimpsed in the distance. A burst of gunfire rang out. The target was completely taken down. So another boar's carcass was loaded onto the boat. The hunt ended with results beyond expectations. Although the whole team was exhausted, everyone was filled with excitement. Louisiana did not disappoint. Wild boars, the experience, and the feeling of satisfaction after each successful shot are truly hard to describe in words. How do you feel about today's hunt? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to follow more thrilling hunts.